The baby wouldn't stop crying. The mother checked the diaper and found this.
Hello everyone. Enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
Leo, please just stop crying for a moment. Claire whispered, her voice trembling, her hands shaking as she held the baby whose face was flushed red from crying. The clock on the wall ticked over to 3:17 a.m. It was the 21st consecutive night that Leo's crying hadn't stopped and the 21st night Claire hadn't gotten more than 15 minutes of sleep. Leo screamed, the cry piercing like it could shred eardrums, a wail that sounded as if he were trying to reclaim something stolen from him. Claire leaned over and gently shook Daniel, her husband, who was fast asleep in the bed beside them. Daniel. I can't take it anymore. I'm exhausted. He turned away, burying his face in the pillow, his voice groggy. I have to be up at 6. You take care of the baby. You haven't changed a single diaper since he was born, Claire sobbed. He's your son too. You're the mom. Moms deal with it. That's how it is, Daniel replied coldly, not even opening his eyes. Claire said nothing else. She carried Leo into the bathroom, shut the door behind her, and laid him on the changing table. She was so tired her head felt dizzy, the whole world spinning. Her tears dripped onto her baby's cheeks, but he kept crying. When she opened his diaper, she froze. A red mark on his left buttock. No, not just a regular rash. It was a small tattoo, sharp as if etched by laser, a circle enclosing a strange symbol, 3 intersecting diagonal lines like a twisted X. She gasped and touched it, making the baby cry louder. Claire stood paralyzed. She had never seen that mark before. It wasn't a birthmark. It didn't look like an injection site. Why was there a tattoo on a newborn's skin? Her hands trembling, she placed Leo back in the crib and grabbed her phone. She typed into the search bar, newborn circle X tattoo symbol. The first result was a news article from a Florida-based site. She used Google Translate. Her heart stopped. Small tattoos, usually circles with a crossed symbol, have appeared on missing newborns in the Northeast since 2018. Investigators believe this is a marking method used by an international child trafficking ring, linked to an underground medical organization. Claire stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She pulled the diaper back up over Leo, but the tattoo was still clearly visible on his red, irritated skin. She stepped back, a hand over her mouth. No, 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 no. Leo started crying again. But this time, the sound felt foreign. She looked at him not with the pure affection of a mother but with creeping panic in every cell of her body. She hurried to her phone, but a message appeared. Device functionality restricted, no network access. What do you mean no network? Claire opened the Wi-Fi settings, everything was gone. She tried calling her mother, Margaret, but there was no signal. She removed the SIM card and reinserted it. Still nothing. She rushed back into the bedroom. Daniel was still sound asleep, facing the wall. Daniel, she shook him harder this time. Where's the Wi-Fi? Where's the network? Disconnected, he said flatly. Why? I needed to check something. Daniel sat up, his eyes cold. You want to check that tattoo, don't you? The blood in Claire's body froze. You know about it? Daniel got up, put on his jacket, and walked toward her. I thought you were smarter. But fine. Since you know, I'll be blunt, he's not your baby. But you have to raise him. That's your job. What are you talking about? Claire stepped back, stammering. He's not my baby. Daniel looked her dead in the eyes, emotionless. Right. He's not your baby. And he's not mine either. But now you understand why he's here, don't you? You're insane, Claire whispered, clutching Leo by instinct. I'm calling the police. Daniel sneered. With what? Your phone's restricted. Wi-Fi's cut. I replaced the front door with a digital lock. You're not getting out. And don't think the neighbors will hear you scream. The next apartment is empty, soundproofed. I've thought of everything. Claire collapsed into a chair, her head spinning, ears ringing. Who are you? She gasped. Daniel smirked and walked into the bathroom. Just someone who plans ahead. Be good and everything will be fine. But if you mess up, you'll end up just like my ex-wife. Claire stared at the closed bathroom door, her lips quivering. Ex-wife? She held Leo tightly. He had stopped crying, his wet eyes gazing up at her. Her love for him was now mixed with an overwhelming dread. If Leo wasn't her son, then where was her real child? And who was this boy? The next morning, Claire pretended to be asleep as Daniel left for work. She heard the beep of the digital lock twice, the door closing, and then silence. She took Leo to the kitchen. There was no formula, no food. The fridge held only a few slices of cheese and a bottle of water. Even her own nutrition was being cut off. Claire opened an old laptop, but it couldn't connect to the internet. She checked the USB ports. One was sealed with thick tape. Bastard, she muttered, rage and despair crashing over her. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. She jumped, clutching Leo, afraid to open the door. But then a woman's voice called softly through the gap. Miss Claire. It's Bonnie from upstairs. I heard something last night, are you okay? Claire rushed over, but the door remained locked. She shouted. Bonnie. Help me. I'm locked in here. But Bonnie didn't hear clearly. Her footsteps faded, and then, nothing. Claire sank to the floor, hugging Leo, sobbing like a child. Go to sleep, Leo, please sleep, she whispered, her eyes sunken, her arms trembling as she rocked him back and forth in the living room. Night 22. And the crying still continued like a cursed echo. She looked at the old wedding photo on the table, her smiling face, hand in hand with Daniel. And now, this was a sealed hell. No phone, no internet, no freedom. She was imprisoned in her own home, with Leo the only sign of life and the most terrifying mystery. Claire looked at her baby, then at the strange tattoo. She whispered. If you're not my child, then who are you? The next morning, when Daniel left for work, Claire sprang into action. She carefully took apart an old hairbrush and pulled out a few strands of her hair. Then she cut a bit of Leo's soft baby hair and put everything into a small zip bag, hiding it under the crib's pillow. One way or another, she had to find the truth. She remembered a private clinic called Crescent DNA Center, just a few blocks away. Her cousin Paige had once worked there as a nurse. If she could get someone to deliver the samples. A knock at the door startled her. Miss Claire. It was Bonnie's voice again, from upstairs. Claire ran to the door. Bonnie. It's me. I heard something last night. Are you okay? You've looked pale lately. Claire pressed her face to the door crack. I need your help. But you can't tell anyone. Not even the building security. Okay. Bonnie looked around, whispering, just tell me. Claire slid the zip bag through the gap under the door. This is hair. Take it to Mira Sierra Clinic. Get a DNA test, compare me and the baby. Don't ask questions. When it's done, tell me by tying a red string on the third floor door handle. I'll know. Bonnie hesitated. Claire, what are you involved in? Please. For my life, and maybe the baby's. Bonnie nodded slowly. All right. I'll do it. 3 days passed in a fog of tears. Daniel became more controlling. He started demanding Claire log Leo's feedings, naps, and diaper changes. His questions like, how does he respond to doorbells, or, does he scratch his face often, sent shivers down her spine. Why are you asking these things? Claire asked, clenching her fists. Daniel shrugged smoothly. To monitor his development, of course. You're not his father. You've never acted like one. And you? Daniel narrowed his eyes at her. You may not be his mother either. Claire went silent. Her heart thudded wildly. That evening, while pretending to play with Leo near the window, she glanced at the third-floor door handle. A red string, tied in a small knot. She gasped, clutching her chest. The results were in. The next morning, Bonnie brought Claire a pack of cookies. Sandwiched between the layers was a folded sheet of paper, sealed in plastic. Claire opened it. Her eyes froze as she read the bold text. No biological relationship detected between the alleged mother and the child. Her hands shook violently. She sank to the floor, eyes locked on the paper, tears pouring uncontrollably. Leo was asleep, his chest rising and falling, unaware his mother was breaking apart piece by piece. No, no, it can't be, Claire whispered. She remembered the moment she supposedly gave birth to Leo at Northern Regional Hospital. The pain, the blood, the doctor shouting for a nurse. Then, blackness. She passed out. When she woke up, Daniel was there, holding the baby. It's a boy, he had said. We have Leo. She had never seen him actually come out of her. Only heard the story. And now, it was all unraveling in a mess of doubt. That night, when Daniel came home and took off his jacket, Claire was waiting. She handed him the DNA results. Read it, her voice was hoarse. Daniel picked up the paper and glanced at it quickly. No surprise. No shock. Just a half smile. So now you know, he said, casually, as if discussing the weather. You switched my baby. No. I just replaced it. Claire screamed, replaced what? I gave birth to my child. How dare you? You delivered blood and pain. I chose something more valuable. Leo was pre-ordered. Pre-ordered? Claire hissed. You're calling a baby merchandise? Daniel sat down and turned on the TV. You can call it whatever you want. But the fact is, he's here, and you're going to raise him. No. Claire threw the test results in his face. I'm going to the police. I'll find my real child. Daniel turned off the TV and stood up. His face morphed from the gentle man she once loved into someone unrecognizable, with eyes as cold as steel. Listen to me, Claire. From now on, I keep your phone. I've wiped your laptop. The front door only opens with my fingerprint. You don't get to go anywhere, say anything, or meet anyone. You don't have the right to do this. I have the right because I'm the only one in control of this house. And if you keep digging. He leaned close to her ear, you'll end up just like my ex-wife. Claire shoved him, slipped, and fell hard to the floor. Leo woke and began screaming. She crawled up, holding her baby tightly. I won't let you keep doing this, she screamed. Daniel said nothing. He walked away, the door slamming shut behind him. That night, Claire sat curled up by the window, her eyes blank. She didn't know who anyone was anymore, what was real, what was fake. All that remained was Leo, the baby she had once believed was hers, now the proof of the worst betrayal she'd ever experienced. Bonnie slipped a phone under her door, a small old model. It's mine. No internet, but you can make calls. If you need to, call my cousin Jason. He's a cop in Oakland. But be careful. Claire grabbed Bonnie's hand, choking back tears. Thank you. I'll never forget this. Bonnie gave her hand a gentle squeeze. You're not alone. Later that night, when the world went quiet, Claire held Leo in her arms and pressed her ear to his chest. You're not my son. But I won't abandon you. I swear it. The baby wheezed softly, one hand wrapping around her finger. And in that moment after nearly a month Claire cried, not out of despair, but because the fear had turned to fire. She hid in the bathroom, the phone Bonnie had given her wrapped tightly in a towel under the sink. She hadn't called yet, not because she feared Daniel would find out, but because she was afraid that saying it out loud would make it all real. The baby wasn't hers, her husband had stolen a child, and his former wife had vanished. She shuddered. "Start with Daniel," she whispered to herself. "I have to know who he really is." The next day, after Daniel left, Claire searched every bookshelf, drawer, and old box in the apartment. She found a wooden box locked with a small clasp. A tiny key sat out of place on a high shelf almost as if it had been left there carelessly. Inside the box was a mess: old letters, birth certificates, photographs, and hospital cards. But what chilled her blood was a photo of a pregnant woman, belly swollen, smiling, yet her face had been slashed with a razor blade. Claire touched it. The cut ran from forehead to chin, as if someone wanted to erase her identity. But the dark wool dress, the silver ring on her right hand, something about her wasn't unfamiliar. It all felt too real, too specific. At the bottom of the box, she found a yellowed newspaper clipping. The print was faded. Martha L.G., 29, missing after giving birth at Northern Regional Hospital. Family accuses hospital of delaying infant delivery. Mother's whereabouts unknown. Claire froze. Northern Regional Hospital. She whispered. "That's where I had Leo." She dropped to the floor, hands trembling, memories rushing back, the intense contractions, the nurse injecting something, the blinding white light, then darkness. When she woke, Daniel was beside her, holding a tiny baby. "It's a boy," he said, smiling. "We have Leo." She had never actually seen the child come from her body. Just heard the story. Now, all of it was unraveling into a tangle of doubt. That evening, when Daniel came home, Claire acted as if nothing had changed. She forced a smile when he asked, "How's the baby today?" "Still fussy," she answered, her voice cracking. "Yeah, he's sensitive. Babies are." "Do you ever think about your ex-wife?" she asked suddenly, eyes fixed on Leo. Daniel froze. "Why would you bring that up?" "I think I should know the past of the man I live with. The past should stay buried. Everyone's got a chapter they want to forget." Claire locked eyes with him. "Her name was Martha, wasn't it?" Daniel slammed the fridge door. "Who told you that?" "I found the wooden box. The photo, the one you mutilated." Daniel went silent for a few seconds, then let out a laugh. "You're way too curious, Claire. She disappeared after giving birth at Northern Regional Hospital." "What a coincidence." Daniel stepped closer. His face darkened, his eyes wild. "Do you want to end up like her?" She got curious. "Now she's gone." Claire backed up, bumping into a chair. "You killed her." "I'm not a killer," he growled. "I just remove people who ruin the plan." She was a person. Not a machine part. "And so are you if you want to stay alive." Claire trembled, but then clenched her jaw. "I'm not afraid of you." Daniel scoffed. "Not afraid." Martha said the same thing. But a few weeks later, she vanished into thin air. That night, once Daniel had fallen asleep, Claire retrieved the phone from under the sink and shakily dialed the number Bonnie had written down. "Hello. Jason. I'm a friend of Bonnie's. I need help." "You must be Claire," came a warm, steady male voice. "Bonnie told me a little. But I need more. Are you being held?" Claire choked up. "I'm trapped in my own home. My husband, Daniel, is involved in switching newborns. And I think he made his ex-wife disappear. Do you have any proof?" "I have an old newspaper clipping, a slashed photo, medical records, and a DNA result proving I'm not the baby's mother." Jesus Christ. Jason muttered. Okay. You need to be careful. I'll need your exact address, and if possible, send me photos of the evidence. This phone has no internet. I can only call. That's fine. Keep talking. I'll take notes. What's your address? Claire gave him the details. Got it. I'll run a background check on Daniel. Stay safe. Don't let him suspect anything. I'll get back to you within 3 days. Please, hurry. I'm afraid he might act soon. Jason's voice softened. Stay strong. And remember you're not alone. The next morning, Daniel left early. Claire used the moment to take photos of the documents using a hidden camera Bonnie had smuggled inside a teddy bear. It recorded to a memory card, and she'd practiced removing and inserting it in seconds. She whispered to Leo, I will find the truth. I won't let anyone take you from me again. Leo lay still, his eyes calmer than ever. Even as a baby, Claire felt there was something invisible binding them, something beyond blood. That night, Daniel came home drunk. Claire made fish stew, pretending nothing was wrong. You still cook just like you did the first day, he muttered. Do you remember that day? When I left my mom's house to live with you? Daniel sipped his drink, smirking. Yeah. You were such a fool. And now? Even more foolish. Claire smirked back. I don't think so. I've started remembering. Remembering? Just little things. Like when I woke up after giving birth, you were holding Leo, but your hands, they had dried blood. That blood wasn't mine. Daniel stared at her. What did you do in the delivery room while I was unconscious? She whispered. Where were you when the doctor stepped out? Who brought Leo into the room? Daniel hurled the glass against the wall. Shut up. Leo cried out. Claire scooped him up, shielding his head. You don't get to control me anymore. She looked him in the eyes. It's over, Daniel. Daniel laughed darkly. Over? Oh Claire, it's just beginning. Claire knew she had crossed the point of no return. But she didn't regret it. The game had shifted. And now, there were only 2 options left, fight, or vanish like Martha. She locked herself in the bathroom, opened the compartment holding the teddy bear's memory card, and quickly slid it into the hidden pocket of her bra. Everything, photos of the wooden box, the slashed picture, the newspaper clipping, and Daniel's threats had been captured. She knew every second was vital evidence. But it would only matter if she survived long enough to expose it. Leo's cries echoed from the living room. But now, they weren't just cries for a mother. They were a siren, an urgent alarm that time was running out. That afternoon, while Daniel dozed off in his chair after downing half a bottle of vodka, Claire picked up the phone Bonnie had given her and accessed the forum page once mentioned, the Nameless Children. A secret site where people who had lost babies or suspected swaps shared what they knew. She posted a short message, attached a blurry photo of the tattoo on Leo's backside, and wrote. My son has this mark since birth. We share no DNA. I don't know where he came from. Please help me. She clicked post. Waited. Her palms were damp. 1 minute. 2. A reply appeared. From, Broken Mom. That mark was on my daughter's thigh. She went missing 6 months ago. No one believed me. Claire's heart pounded. She replied immediately. Do you remember anything else? Any more information? Broken Mom. I did my own digging. That symbol is tied to a network. Someone sent me a classified file. I'll forward it to you. 10 minutes later, a file appeared in the message, cadena_parker.docs. Claire opened it. She saw a list of names, birth dates, hospitals, file numbers. Each line had a red X marked beside it. But what made her skin crawl was the last name on the list. Albert Parker. Northern Regional Hospital coordinated newborn transfers expelled from the medical board in 2019 for undisclosed unethical conduct. Albert, Claire whispered, her mind cracking open with the force of recognition. She remembered Daniel once saying, "I used to work with a weird doctor named Albert, had some tricks to make delivery easier." She had laughed it off at the time. Now, every piece was falling into place. She saved the file to the memory card, then quickly pulled the teddy bear camera to keep recording the conversation that was about to happen. When Daniel woke up, Claire brought him a glass of water and sat across from him, pretending to be calm. "Do you know Albert Parker?" she asked. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Who told you that name?" "No one. I read it in an old article." Daniel set the glass down. "You're better off not asking about him." "Why?" "Because he's your colleague." He laughed, but it wasn't warm. "Albert gave us opportunity. Without him, you wouldn't have Leo to hold every night." "So Leo is one of the babies he transferred?" "Don't talk like you didn't benefit from this." "Shut up." Claire slammed the spoon to the floor. "I didn't benefit from raising a baby with no known origin." Daniel stood and leaned close to her face. "But you still raised him, didn't you? You still held him every night. You still cried for him. You're not his mother, but you're playing the part. What's more terrifying, being lied to, or realizing you love a child that was never yours?" Claire backed away, voice shaking. "I loved him because I thought he was my son. Not because of you or your filthy network." Daniel tilted his head. "You're becoming a real problem, Claire." After he fell asleep, Claire removed the memory card from the bear, tucked it into a fake cookie box, and hid it behind the toilet tank. Bonnie would visit the next day, like usual. If she didn't survive, at least the evidence had to make it to Jason. Early the next morning, Claire made coffee, poured Daniel a cup, and asked casually, "You seeing anyone today?" "Yeah. Meeting an old contact." "Albert?" Daniel shot her a glance but said nothing. She added, "If you do see him, tell him Claire says hi." He narrowed his eyes. "You testing me?" Claire shrugged. "You tested me first." Daniel gave a tight smirk. He stood, slipped on his coat, and before stepping out, left a chilling reminder. "Remember, Claire, one wrong move, and people start dying." As soon as he left, Claire messaged Broken Mom. "I need to know more about Albert." "What do you know?" The reply came. "He doesn't work alone. There's someone handling data falsification and encryption. And, there are women involved too. They call themselves La Familia, the family." Claire's throat tightened. A baby-swapping network calling itself a family? They have people inside hospitals, they forge DNA results, even hire doctors to fake a baby's death certificate to replace it with another. Some kids were sold to Asia, some to the Midwest. Was Leo going to be sold too? Absolutely. But as long as he's still with you, there's a chance. That afternoon, Claire secretly installed another mini camera inside the wall clock Bonnie had sent. It would record and capture the entire living room. If Daniel slipped up, it might be their lifeline. That evening, Daniel was on the phone in the living room. Claire passed by, pretending to wipe the table, but listening intently. "Yeah. She suspects something. I feel like she planted something." His voice dropped, then became clearer. "No. You got the replacement ready?" "Yeah. A 35-week-old girl." "Good. I'll bring Leo to the usual drop point." Claire froze, her heart pounding. "You handle the paperwork. As for her, I'll deal with it." When Daniel hung up, Claire returned to the kitchen, her hands trembling. "They're going to replace Leo, then sell him," she whispered. "No. I won't let that happen." That night, she recorded the full conversation Daniel had on the phone, then took the memory card and hid it in her bra. She left a handwritten note under Leo's pillow. "If I'm not here anymore, Leo must be protected. Get this to Jason. Urgent." Claire held her baby tight. Tears fell onto his forehead. She whispered, "You may not be of my blood, but I'll kill anyone who tries to harm you." The phone rang in the middle of the night, sharp and blaring like a death alarm. Claire opened her eyes, groggy from exhaustion and lack of sleep. She turned toward Leo's crib. It was empty. "Leo," she whispered, yanking the blanket off, bolting out of bed like a shot. The crib was empty. The room was empty. Not a sound. Not a breath. "Leo!" she screamed, bursting into the hallway. Daniel stood by the living room window, one hand in his pocket, staring out indifferently. "Where's Leo?" Claire shrieked, shoving him. Daniel smirked. "I gave him to the people who needed him." She stood frozen. "You gave him away?" "Yeah," he turned to her, eyes glacial. "It's done. Simple. Clean." Claire lunged at him, beating his chest with both fists. "You're a monster. He's a child. A life. He's my son." Daniel grabbed her wrists, squeezed hard, and shoved her to the floor. "He's not your son. Stop pretending to be noble. I saw it, you really loved him. You even called him your baby. But the truth is, he was just a misbranded product." Claire pulled herself up, eyes bloodshot. "You'll pay. I swear." Daniel shrugged and poured himself a drink. "Don't swear yet. You've got nothing left. No Leo, no evidence, no allies. Tonight, your whole world vanished." Claire ran to the bathroom and smashed open the toilet tank lid. The memory card with the phone recording was still inside the waterproof bag. She pulled it out, clutching it like her last treasure. An hour later, in the pitch dark, Claire curled up in the corner of the room, holding the now empty teddy bear that once held the camera. She called Jason using the old phone. "Hello, it's Claire." "Claire. What happened?" "Leo, he's gone. Daniel took him. I don't know where. But I have the memory card. I recorded his phone call. He mentioned a replacement and spoke with Albert." Jason was silent for a few seconds, then spoke quickly. "Listen to me. You can't stay there. You need to get out now. I'll send people, but you must leave before Daniel finds out you still have evidence." "How?" "The doors are locked, the windows barred." Jason lowered his voice. "The balcony below belongs to an old man named Franklin. I'll call him. Climb down, give him the memory card. No matter what, get that evidence out. What about me? You have to survive first." Claire wrapped the memory card in plastic and hid it deep in her braid. She carried the phone, the empty teddy bear, and the paper with Jason's name on it. At 4 a.m., she slid open the balcony door silently. The air was razor cold. She climbed over the railing, stepping carefully onto the metal divider and lowering herself to the balcony below. "Mr. Franklin, it's me, Claire, please." A small light flicked on in the apartment below. An elderly man with silver hair and glasses opened the balcony door, trembling. "My God, what are you doing? Please. I don't have time. In my hair there's evidence. Please take it to a police officer named Jason Evans in Oakland. He knows everything. Please." Mr. Franklin nodded and took the teddy bear she added for cover. "I'll go right away." Claire whispered, "You're saving my life." She climbed back up into her apartment just in time to hear the front door creak open. Daniel had returned. He stood in the dark, his eyes gleaming like a predator's. "You thought you could fool me," he growled. "I reviewed the camera feed. You climbed the balcony. The cameras inside were disabled, Claire said, panting. But not the ones in the hallway. I always have backup plans, Claire. What about your plan if I kill you? She pulled a fruit knife from her sleeve. The cold metal flashed in the dim hallway light. Daniel stood still for a moment. Then laughed. You won't do it. You're not that kind of woman. Claire gripped the handle tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. You made me that kind of woman. Daniel lunged. She stabbed. But not the chest. The knife plunged into his shoulder. He screamed, blood spurting as he staggered back. Claire tried to run, but he grabbed her hair, yanking her back and slamming her head against the edge of the table. You crazy bitch. The room spun around her. The smell of blood, alcohol, and gasping breaths swirled into one. Claire tried to open her eyes, catching a glimpse of Daniel tearing through drawers, throwing things to the floor in a frenzy. He knows the memory card is gone, she murmured. Where's Jason? You sent it to him, didn't you? Daniel shouted, grabbing her hair and yanking her up. Tell me. Claire only smiled. Blood ran from her temple down her neck, but she kept smiling. Daniel screamed and raised a fist. Bang! The front door burst open. Dallas police. Stay where you are. Drop the weapon. Flashlights flickered through the air. Daniel tried to run toward the balcony but was tackled to the ground by an officer. He's got a knife. Watch out, someone shouted. Target subdued, another officer yelled. Jason rushed in, wrapping Claire in his arms as she struggled to breathe. Claire. I'm here. You okay? Can you hear me? Claire gave a faint smile, her eyes fluttering shut. Leo, find Leo, don't let them, take him. Jason gripped her hand tightly. We'll find him. I promise. Outside, ambulance lights flashed across the street. Mr. Franklin stood near the curb, visibly shaking. The memory card. I gave it directly to the officer, he told a young cop. There's a recording, and a name Albert. The officer nodded. Thank you, sir. Thanks to you, we might actually shut this operation down. Inside the ambulance, Claire lay unconscious, her arms still curled as if cradling an invisible child. The nurse named Lucy leaned down and whispered. Don't worry, ma'am. We'll bring your baby back. Claire sat quietly on her hospital bed, her hands bandaged, her head throbbing. The room was stark white, silent except for the steady beeping of the heart monitor. But her heart didn't beat in rhythm, it screamed in her chest, demanding to see Leo again. Jason walked in and placed a glass of water on the table. Feeling any better? I won't feel better until I see Leo, Claire replied, her voice flat but firm. Jason sat down beside her. We're tracing the data from the memory card. Looks like Daniel made frequent visits to an address outside Dallas. An abandoned house registered under a fake name, not listed in public records. You planning to search it? We need a warrant, Jason sighed. But if you got there first. Claire stared at him. Are you asking me to do what the police can't? Jason didn't answer. But his eyes said it all. That night, Claire left the hospital through the back exit. She wore tight black clothes, an old coat, and carried a small fabric bag with essentials, flashlight, folding knife, a phone with no SIM card. She took a bus toward the coordinates Jason had given her. Dallas at night wore the color of death. Claire sat among strangers, cold wind slipping through cracks in the window, sneaking into every corner of her fear. But there was no more room in her for fear, only fire, only resolve. The bus stopped at the final stop. Claire stepped off and looked around. No one. In front of her was a dirt road leading to a crumbling house covered in weeds and garbage. She took a deep breath and walked into the dark. The house stood tall, 2 stories, with cracked walls and a rusted iron door. Claire pressed her ear to it. Silence. She pushed, it wasn't locked. A chilling creak echoed. She stepped inside. The air smelled of mold, and something else, milk. Baby formula, mixed with the scent of diapers and sweat. Her flashlight swept across the room, in one corner, a baby crib. Still new. Next to it, a changing table, some cloths, and a tube of diaper rash cream. "Oh my God," Claire whispered. She walked carefully to the table. On it lay a thick leather-bound notebook, sealed with a magnetic clasp. She opened it, flipping through the pages. The first page, names of women, gestational ages, notes. Next page. Anna Roberts, 35 weeks, mother, declared deceased at 36, delivery completed. Isabel Vaughn, 30 weeks, mother, declined, processed. Claire Martin, 39 weeks, records altered, delivery completed. She almost threw up. Her own name, cold and clinical, like a target in a shipment manifest. Delivery completed, they call life a delivery? Claire hissed. A noise stopped her. Someone was entering the house. She dove under the table, heart pounding. Heavy footsteps. Dragging. A tall man with broad shoulders, breathing hard. "God damn it," he muttered. "Cops are digging into the data. Albert's losing it. We've got to clear this place out by the end of the week." Claire bit her lip. Albert. It was him. And this man, another piece of the network. "Shipment goes out tomorrow night. Girls in the cold room downstairs. Need to check the temperature." His voice faded. Claire waited 5 full minutes before crawling out and following the rotted stairs to the basement. It was pitch black, lit only by the red glow of a cooler unit and the faint hum of a ventilation fan. In the corner sat a small steel cage lined with folded cloths, milk bottles, 1 unwashed bottle, and a pale blue knit cap. Claire's hands trembled as she picked it up. That hat, she'd knitted it for Leo in his 8th month. "Were you here? Were you really here?" No answer. But the milk, the hat, the aching emptiness were all confirmation. She took pictures of everything. Every detail. Every speck of dried blood on the mattress. Every word in the notebook. She turned toward the stairs. Suddenly, a flashlight beam hit her face. "Freeze!" a voice roared. "Who's there?" Claire flinched, backing up, her hand gripping her small knife. A shadowy figure appeared. It was him, the man from before. "Who the hell are you?" he barked, stepping forward, hand reaching into his coat. "Back off!" Claire shouted. "I've got a knife." He laughed. "What do you think that's gonna do? Do you even know who runs this place?" "I do," Claire panted. "Albert Parker. And now I've seen his little helpers too." He drew a gun. "Shame. Now you won't get to tell anyone." Claire turned and bolted. A gunshot exploded behind her, a bullet grazing her arm. Blood sprayed. She slipped, tumbling down the stairs, crashing into the wall. Her shaking hand pulled out the phone, dialing Jason's number. "Claire. Where are you?" Jason's voice crackled with panic. Abandoned house, outside Dallas. Leo was here, they have guns, cages, names, proof. Help." Then, darkness. The police found her the next morning unconscious, bleeding, phone still on speaker. Jason dropped to his knees, slapping her cheek. "Claire. Wake up. You did it, you were amazing." A young officer yelled from the basement. "Sir. Crib, blankets, and a ledger. This is the real deal." Jason stood, his voice shaking. "Secure the scene. Call an ambulance. And, notify the task force. We're launching an international investigation now." Claire opened her eyes under the blinding white light of the hospital. Her head throbbed like a hot rod was lodged in her temple. Outside, ambulance sirens howled, a reminder that the nightmare wasn't over. A nurse approached. "Ms. Claire, you're awake. The police asked us to keep your location confidential for your safety." Claire nodded weakly. "I need to see Jason. He's in the hallway." "I'll call him." Jason entered with a grim expression. "We searched the house. What you found is enough to launch an international case." "What about Leo?" Claire asked immediately. Jason hesitated. "No confirmed leads. But the list you found matches names of missing babies from Colombia, Peru, Mexico. And Albert? He's fled Dallas. We've issued a warrant. The problem is," he paused, "Daniel's still free." Claire sat upright. "What?" He lawyered up. "Claimed self-defense. Said you stabbed him first. The memory card hasn't been formally verified yet, so it doesn't count as direct evidence." "No. We can't let him get away." Jason looked at her with sympathy. "We need you alive. Let us take it from here." Claire shook her head, eyes burning. "I'm not letting anyone else finish this. My child was stolen. I was deceived. And now, I'm taking back justice." That night, while hospital security changed shifts, Claire quietly unplugged her dressed in black, and slipped out through the emergency exit. Her destination, the old apartment where it all began, where it would all end. The apartment was eerily still. Everything remained: the wedding photo on the shelf, the empty crib, the dining table with 2 misaligned chairs. But no Daniel. Claire pulled out her knife and tucked a second memory card into her back pocket. She stood in the center of the living room, eyes locked on the clock camera she had secretly left behind. "Are you watching me, Daniel?" "I hope so," she said loudly. A deep voice spoke from behind her. "You really don't know when to quit." Claire turned. Daniel stood in the bedroom doorway, gun in hand. "Where's Leo?" she asked, unflinching. "Gone. Far away. Somewhere you'll never find him." "You're lying." Daniel smirked. "Still think you're clever, Claire. But you're just a pawn in a much bigger game. Then let's see who becomes the sacrifice tonight." Claire pulled her knife, locking eyes with him. Daniel laughed. "I have a gun. What do you think your little knife will do?" Claire exhaled deeply. "I didn't come here to win. I came to end this." Daniel raised the gun. "Goodbye, Claire." She charged. Bang! The shot rang out. She was thrown backward against the table, blood blooming on her shoulder. But she didn't let go of the knife. Daniel walked toward her, smug. "Now you've got nothing left. Leo's gone. The police have nothing. And you." Suddenly, Claire pulled the memory card from her back pocket and held it up. "You see this?" Daniel froze. "It's the camera from inside the apartment. It recorded everything tonight. The moment you pulled the gun. The moment you shot me while I was unarmed. And the part where you said Leo's already been taken." Daniel's face turned pale. You can't." "Oh, but I can," Claire said with a weak smile, even as blood soaked through the back of her shirt. "The police are listening to everything. Did you really think I came here alone?" Daniel screamed and lunged to snatch the card, but Claire drove the knife deep into his left shoulder. Blood splattered. He screamed in pain. He grabbed her by the hair and punched her. She collapsed to the floor, her head slamming into the table leg. Her vision blurred. The world spun. Daniel knelt on her chest and began choking her. "Want to end up like Martha? She was just as smug as you, and now she doesn't even have a grave." Claire reached under the table, grabbed a shard of broken glass, and drove it into his hand. Daniel howled and released her. She gasped for air and crawled toward the phone, trying to hit the emergency call. Daniel staggered to his feet, hand dripping with blood, gun still in hand. "Say goodbye, Claire." Bang! But the shot didn't come from him. The door slammed open. Jason burst in, Glock raised. Daniel dropped to the floor, a bullet hitting his thigh. He screamed. Police swarmed the apartment. "Drop the gun." On the floor. Daniel was pinned and handcuffed. His face was ghostly white, lips pressed tight, but his eyes never left Claire. "You'll never get him back," he hissed. Claire collapsed to the floor, panting. Jason held her. "You're absolutely insane, but also the bravest woman I've ever met." She gave a faint smile. "Leo, you have to save Leo." We tracked down the location of a transfer hub. San Diego. Just a few hours ago. Leo's alive. She burst into tears, her sobs mixing with blood and relief. Claire was wheeled out of the apartment to the sound of police sirens. Neighbors gathered around. Bonnie rushed forward and gripped her hand. "You won, Claire. You haven't lost." Claire whispered, exhausted but her eyes still blazing. "No. Not yet. Not while there's still a missing child out there." The ambulance sirens screamed into the wind, carrying Claire unconscious, bloodied hands clenched. Jason sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, his expression tight with concern. He had seen many victims before, but none like Claire, isolated, shattered, then rising like a warrior to save a child who wasn't even hers by blood. At Harrison General Hospital, doctors rushed her into surgery. A bullet remained lodged in her left shoulder, a shard of glass buried in her side, bruises all over her neck and face. But her heart still beat. Her will still clung to life. "Will she make it?" Jason asked the gray-haired doctor. "Depends if her spirit is as strong as her body," he replied. "But I've never seen a woman fight like this." 3 days later, Claire woke up. The hospital room was filled with light. A pot of red carnations sat on the windowsill. Jason sat beside her, reading a file. When she stirred, he smiled. "Welcome back, warrior." Her voice was hoarse. "I'm alive." "And still bloodthirsty," Jason teased. "Don't worry, he's not going anywhere." "Daniel?" "In custody. No bail. And he won't get another chance. He was caught in the act, gun in hand, your blood on his shirt." He confessed to delivering the package and contacting Albert. "Albert?" Jason's face darkened. "We're working with Interpol. The data from your memory card matches records of a man charged back in 2019, Albert Parker, a former OB/GYN expelled from the field for abusing his authority in a restricted maternity ward. He fled to Belgium 2 weeks ago." "Damn it," Claire gripped the bed sheet. "He's the head of the snake. We've issued an international arrest warrant." And, Jason pulled a photo from his folder. Last night, a security camera at the San Diego Child Transit Station captured this boy being held illegally. 80% match to Leo's ID profile. Claire bolted upright, pain shooting through her wounds, but she didn't care. "Leo? Are you sure? We're running a DNA test with the hair sample you kept. But, you need to know it's dangerous if you go." "Jason," she said, locking eyes with him, "I already died once. Nothing will stop me now." The next day, Claire was discharged under secret protection. She, Jason, and a small tactical team moved to an abandoned industrial site on the outskirts of San Diego, once a storage depot, now transformed into a newborn transit station. At the rusted front gate, Jason gave the command. "No noise. No lights. He doesn't know we found the place." A SWAT officer whispered over radio. 2 targets. Male and female. Checking documents and plastic bins with baby items. Albert? Claire asked. Not confirmed. But the man is gray-haired, wearing a white lab coat. Matches 2019 file description. Claire and Jason slipped through the back fence, crouched behind rotting pallets. She suddenly grabbed Jason's arm. Listen. From one room came a faint, familiar cry. A baby's cry. Her baby's cry. Leo, she whispered. A team member signaled. The group silently pushed the door open. Inside was a bare room with industrial air conditioning. Dim light from a ceiling bulb shone down on a plastic crib. Inside it, a baby boy wailed, his eyes red, nose runny, arms flailing. Claire ran. Leo. She scooped him into her arms, tears falling freely. It's me, baby. Mommy's here. Leo stopped crying as if he felt her warmth. His tiny hand reached up to her face, brushing her cheek with trembling fingers. A soft sound came from his mouth. Ma. Claire sobbed harder, holding him tighter. Yes, it's Mommy. I came for you. I crossed hell to get here. Gunfire rang out outside. Jason shouted. Take him alive. Don't let him escape. Claire cradled Leo and rushed outside. There, she saw Albert tackled to the ground, his hands cuffed, face bloodied from a fall. It's you, she growled. You branded babies like products. You turned mothers into faceless victims. You. Albert tried to grin. We didn't kill anyone. We just redistributed life chances. Redistributed? Claire slapped him hard. I buried myself for a month because I didn't know where my son was. You call that redistribution? Jason pulled her back. Enough, Claire. He'll pay. But through the law. Albert sneered. Law. You think law beats money? I'll be out before you know it. Claire nodded. Maybe. But this time. I won't let this be buried. I'll speak. Every second. Every child. Every mark. Jason nodded to the officers. Take him. And send the case to the International Court. Charges: human trafficking, cross-border child swapping, medical abuse, human rights violations. 1 week later, the first trial began in Dallas. Daniel stood in the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit, his face gaunt, eyes full of hate. Claire faced him, no more fear in her eyes. The lawyer asked, Can you tell us what made you believe your husband was involved in a trafficking ring? Claire answered firmly. I didn't believe. I lived it. Every second. The prosecution presented audio recordings, images from the memory card, Claire's testimony, footage from the secret house, and Daniel's coded notebook. The jury deliberated less than 2 hours. We find the defendant, Daniel Parker, guilty of human trafficking, unlawful imprisonment, and attempted murder. Sentence: 30 years in prison, no parole. Claire lifted her chin, eyes blazing. The courtroom erupted in applause. Bonnie hugged her tightly outside. You did it. You brought justice. That night, Claire sat beside Leo's crib. He was asleep, his tiny hand gently holding her finger. She stroked his hair and looked up at the ceiling, tears falling softly. You're not my flesh and blood, but I chose you. And you chose to live. That's enough. She smiled, whispering. One day, you'll understand, some mothers don't give birth from their wombs, but from their hearts. San Diego. 3 weeks after Albert Parker's arrest. Claire stood beneath the soft spring afternoon sun, holding Leo's hand as he took wobbly steps. He was still fragile, startled by loud noises, but his eyes were clearer now, less afraid. Slow down, Leo. Be careful, she said gently, gripping his hand tightly. The boy looked up and murmured, "Mama." Claire laughed through tears. "Yes, it's me. Mommy's here, Leo." Behind them, Jason approached, carrying a thick folder. He handed it to Claire. "This is the temporary guardianship certificate. You've been officially assigned as Leo's legal guardian under the Child Protection Statute." Claire took it, her voice trembling. "I get to keep him. For now. But there's more." Jason paused, his gaze cautious. "Colombian police just contacted us. They've identified Leo's biological mother. Her name is Melissa Turner, 24, from El Paso. She was lured to Florida under false labor promises, then forced to give birth at Northern Regional Hospital." Claire sank onto a bench, her face pale. "So. I'm not the only one." "No. She's currently being protected at a shelter for trafficked women. She doesn't know Leo is still alive." "Can I meet her?" Jason nodded. "She's on her way." An hour later, Melissa arrived. She wore a white blouse, her hair tied back, her eyes filled with uncertainty and hope. Claire stepped forward, holding Leo close. "Are you Melissa?" she asked. Melissa nodded, looking at the baby snuggling into Claire's shoulder. Is that my son?" Claire didn't answer. She simply kissed Leo gently on the forehead, then passed him into the arms of his biological mother. "His name is Leo. But if you want, you can change it." Melissa held the baby tightly. Leo looked confused at first, then slowly calmed down as if instinct told him, "This place is safe too." "My baby, my sweet baby, it's Mommy," Melissa broke down, holding him to her chest. Claire turned away, tears streaming down her cheeks. Bonnie stepped up and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," Claire whispered. "It feels like my heart just broke, and healed at the same time." Jason approached and handed her a tissue. "There's something else." "What is it?" Melissa said, "If it's okay, she wants you to be Leo's godmother. She believes he's still alive because of you." Claire turned back, stunned. "Really?" Melissa nodded. "I don't know who you are. But the way you held my son. I could tell you love him like he was your own. No one does that unless they're a mother. But I'm just a woman who got tricked, forced to raise a child I didn't know. And because of that, you did what others couldn't. You didn't abandon my son. You saved him from people like Daniel, like Albert. I carried him, but you gave birth to him in the middle of hell." Claire broke down. "I don't know if I deserve this." "None of us are perfect, Claire," Melissa smiled gently. "But because of you, I still have my child." A week later, at the Invisible Children's Center, a sanctuary for mothers of missing children, Claire officially joined as a special advisor. She, Bonnie, Jason, and Melissa sat around a round table, planning to expand operations to other cities. "What's the first thing we need?" Bonnie asked. "The victims list," Claire answered. "We'll trace it back to Albert's records, follow each file, each tattoo." Jason added, "The police are reopening missing persons cases from as far back as 2017. But we'll need civilian manpower. And pressure from the media." Melissa took Claire's hand. "I'll share my story. And yours. So that every woman in Colombia and across South America knows, never stay silent." Claire nodded. Silence is death. Speaking up is survival. The following month, Claire appeared on the TV program Lost Voices. The reporter asked, "Ms. Claire, you're not Leo's biological mother. What made you fight so hard?" She looked straight into the camera. "Because when I heard him cry, it tore my heart apart. Because when I saw the tattoo on his skin, I couldn't look away. Because when I realized he might disappear, I chose to walk into hell to pull him back. Now that he's returned to his birth mother, do you have any regrets?" Claire smiled. I didn't lose Leo. I got to live with him, love him, and save him. No one can take that from me. What would you say to the mothers out there who are feeling hopeless? Claire answered, eyes fierce like flame. You are not alone. If you feel like something is wrong, investigate. If no one believes you, fight. If you've lost hope, remember, there are people like me, like Melissa, like Bonnie, standing behind you. That night, Claire returned home and opened the old wooden box that once held Daniel's forged documents. Now, it contained photos of Leo from his earliest days, to when she held him in her arms, and then in Melissa's. She quietly added a new photo, Leo playing in the grass, clutching his worn-out teddy bear. She caressed the photo and whispered, "You're the miracle life gave me." Not in the usual way, but in the way only a broken heart can understand. One weekend, Claire took Leo to visit the cemetery where Martha Daniels' first wife was buried. Her remains had been found by police in a forest near the secret house. Claire placed a bouquet of flowers on the grave and softly said, "I didn't know you. But I understand you. We were both betrayed by the same man. But I live to tell the part of your story that was left unfinished." Leo sat beside her, looking up. "Mommy, who is this lady?" "A brave woman," Claire answered, "and a mother who never got the chance to hold her child." The little boy bowed his head. "Mommy, don't lose me again, okay?" Claire squeezed his hand, eyes stinging. "No, Leo. I won't ever leave you. Blood or not, you're my son." On her left arm, just above the old wound, Claire had tattooed a small circle with 3 lines slashed across, reversed and broken, symbolically destroying the emblem of the trafficking ring. Bonnie saw the tattoo and chuckled. "I thought you hated that symbol." Claire smiled softly. "I hated what they used it for. But now it's a statement, no one marks people like merchandise ever again." And then, as the sun dipped westward, Claire stood outside the Invisible Children's Center, watching mothers arrive, children being returned, tears flowing, embraces tightening, cries echoing. She knew the fight was far from over. But at least, she had won the part that mattered most. She whispered, "Victory isn't surviving. It's making sure injustice never repeats itself." Claire's story reveals the power of love, courage, and perseverance in the darkness of deceit and crime. Though not a biological mother, she fought to the end to protect an innocent life, refusing to stay silent in the face of injustice. It shows us that motherhood isn't defined by blood but by heart and action. Sometimes, the strongest people aren't the loudest but those who keep walking when all hope seems lost.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.